exciting discussion. It's called the Fireside Chat, and the topic is the business case for sustainability tech, balancing purpose and profits. So for this, I would like to invite Ankit Kapoor, the CEO and Director of Electric Bee Private Limited. Can we have a big round of applause, please? All of you. Then we have Raghunathan, the CEO of We Are Tech LLC. Yes, all of you, big round of applause. And next we have Matthew Zarali, the founder of We Rainers. Yes, all of you, please give a big round of applause. So it will be our fireside chat. I request the coordinators to please place the seats over here for the fireside discussion. Yes, please be seated. Within a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin with the fireside chat. Yes, all of you, please, let us begin.
So thanks everyone for being here today. I'm glad to moderate this panel right now and introducing the two incredible entrepreneurs today here. So let's start with Ankit Kapoor, which is 7 years of experience in consulting, manufacturing, supply chain. He understands geography, dynamics of different industry sectors, and translate market needs into successful product working panel with administration and down up. He has been in management consulting, McKinsey, product manager and second-time entrepreneurs. He holds intense experience in manufacturing of capital-intense products, efficiency managing and growing supply chains and scaling operations. He has an executive MBA from US, while he also started up his initial renewable energy company, Electric Fish. His goal was to add value as his nation, hence return to India and start with Trijan. He has successfully sold processed industrial materials in highly competitive markets, creating synergies at procurement cycle level, supervised threefold growth in operation while closing portfolio clients. At Electric Bee, he leads products, procurements, partnership, and finance. Big applause to him. Thanks. And then we have Raghu. He's an entrepreneur based in Dubai. He's an accountant and auditor by qualifications. He has an overall experience of 27 years and 23 years in IT. Raghu has streamlined business processes of many large businesses conglomerates in the Middle East and aligned processes with technologies. He has been mentoring several people in his career and is a great leader who leads the team from the front. Thanks. Let's start with Raghu.
Thanks, Madhya. So sustainability, this is a buzzword today, right? People say sustainability, sustainability. What it really means, is it a technology or what it is? It's a way of life, right? This is what we are talking about here. The sustainability tech, how we balance the purpose and the profit. So people always think, okay, if I concentrate on profit, I may not be looking at sustainability, but that's not the case. So today's discussion, with Ankit and myself, it's going to be more on how we achieve the sustainability at the same time we achieve the profit for the businesses.
Yeah, okay, let's start with the first question to Antti. So how balanced is the real equation between profit and sustainability?
Uh, Thank you, Matt, for that question. My co-panelists, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you all. Uh, I'd rather answer that question, Matt, by putting forth a statement, which I anyways also keep talking about, that no matter how sustainable a solution is, it's only going to sell if it's commercially viable. Now think about it. So what are the top one or two things that come into your mind if you think of sustainability? We want to make this interactive. Anyone from the back, anyone, what do you think when you hear the term sustainability? Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. Right, true. Okay, so continuity, commitment to be able to give more than you receive. If you and we could go on and on and on and we could hear 10 or 20 other things, but if you really jot this down, all of this will just subside to three major points when you hear the term sustainability. That A, it's a cost, you would want to give more than you receive. B, it's a legal norm, it's a policy. And C, it's a social responsibility. That is what it is when we hear the term sustainability comes to our mind. But let me break your heart, not in the wrong way, that any one of us or any organization has to go sustainable not because of any of these reasons. The only and only reason to go sustainable is because it makes perfect business sense. How? I know this might sound weird. So if you look at energy is really the easiest way to decarbonize because irrespective of where you are placed in the value chain, all of us consume energy, whether we are an individual or we are an enterprise or we are an organization. We consume power, this conference, our computers, our home appliances. So the first and very major assumption is that all of us need power and we consume power. The second is the prices of energy and power only keep going up. They never decline. It's simple economics. We draw power out of limited natural thermal resources, which are limited, so the supply is fixed. The demand keeps rising. As I said, we keep on consuming more and more power, so the prices keep rising, right? And the third and most critical barrier to decarbonize energy, uh, which is that the source of energy really that we buy energy from is as is. We take it as a given. We do not have any options around it, at least for the most of us. Like we have options while we're buying our clothes, while we're buying our shoes, or anything for that matter. But a great thing has happened over a couple of years with the advent of renewable energy, that the grid has started to become decentralized. Now, by that, what I mean is that before the grid used to be very centralized. The generation of power was very consolidated in a sense. So the power was only being generated at particular points or controlled by only a few, rather the state. But with the advent of renewable energy, you could, as an individual, as an organization, you could produce your own power, right? So that's broken that barrier, which was very crucial to decarbonize. That now you have other sources of power to buy from. So here, a commercial space in Dubai could just be buying power from someone generating renewable energy in Abu Dhabi in an open access model, which is one third the cost of conventional energy. That's one, and great for the environment. So long answer short, to answer your question, I think sustainability and profits are rather on the same side of the equation. The equation is very imbalanced in that sense, and which is good for all of us. Uh, they're both just different sides of the same coin. I can keep talking, but I can come back also, Matt.
Okay, thanks, Ankit. So now a question for Raghu. How do you measure and accelerate sustainable growth in tech? And what are the different criteria of this assessment?
Yes, criteria. So as I earlier said, sustainability is a buzzword, people talk about it, and there are many things known and unknown in this. Okay, we are getting into the sustainability at an accelerated pace. So technically speaking, in the 19th century, the sustainability started. But so a lot of governance has come into place. It is getting organized now. The corporates realize, right? Ankit was talking about this corporate social responsibility, which is again linked to sustainability. So when you say sustainability, we are talking, generally we remember only the 3 P's of sustainability. But I would say the 4th P, which is an important one, which is the purpose. Why do you have to do it? What do you achieve by doing it, right? So when you realize that, then the triple bottom line of 3 P's can easily be achieved in sustainability. So the triple P's is, one is very loudly, Ankit had spoken, which is the profit, right? How are you sustainable and at the same time make profit for your organization? Then the second P, we are talking about people, right? How people are important and why they are important, okay, on this. And the third one, obviously the planet, right? Everybody knows, we need to have it ready for the next generations to come in and then create more sustainable innovations. And we need to have, it has to be a, environment friendly habitat for the next generations. So when you talk about the profit, people immediately think, right, yes, as a business owner, I need to make profit. I need to reduce the cost and mitigate the risk. So what do? I reduce on the material or reduce on the manpower. No, they are the human assets we are talking about, right, that we say. Okay, when we talk about how people are important in the second P, we'll talk about it. But profits can be improved in a business. Different businesses see it in a different way. They say, no, I reduce my labor cost so that, I make more profit. My operational cost reduces. No, that's not the only way that the operational cost reduces. So we can be, the supply chain, we have to make it so cohesive that, down the supply chain as a long term, if we reduce it, say we keep reducing the carbon footprint, okay, which also reduces our cost, our operational cost and the risk. So this is another way of looking at it, how sustainable you can be at the same time, that is contribute to the society and at the same time improve your profitability in the long run, right? When you just reduce your cost, immediately cutting the cost, it is going to be short term and it is not going to be a long term. So the profit also will not be sustainable if you do it in a short term, right? The second P that we are talking about, the people, okay, the how it is important. Is it always the top down that is important? It is, people know about sustainability, it is pushed only from the management? No. So people at the bottom also should know about it. And we need to create a balance between the shareholder and the stakeholder, right? We work for, profitability of the shareholders. The shareholders always think, yes, okay, we think about the shareholders and then say, yes, we need to get profit, right? We also have to look, there are other stakeholders. It could be your customer, your vendor, your employees, where they also should be involved in this. Because when you think about it and when you are talking about the future, the more people will come and join you, more customers will want to work with you and more vendors, because they look at you as a long term and you socially contribute, right? The second P. So the third P, we're talking about the planet. So the planet, when you take care of these things, reduce your carbon footprint, like, he was talking about a lot. One is the availability that he spoke about it, when you privatize this sector, when limited people were handling and it's more people and it's available, you can produce your energy, Okay, this was something. So the planet becomes a more environment friendly habitat by reducing the carbon footprint for the future generations to come. So we are not thinking about us. Yes, we need more innovations. Okay, earlier we were talking about IoT, AR, VR, so many things. So this has, technology has at a accelerated, at a geometric progression improved in the last couple of decades or 2-3 decades, right? Prior to that it was not. So in the future generations to come, it is going to be a more accelerated approach that it is going to be. So because of that, we need to have this planet available for the next generations to come in. At the same time, our business has to be profitable. That is the reason these 3 P's are very important aspect of this.
Thanks, Raghu. I think is a really important point. So let's go to the second question to Antique. How do you think nations and your organization can add value to this balance?
A great question, by the way, Matt. I'd rather like to answer that in a geographical context, so to speak. So if you talk about cities, I mean, as human species, we all love cities, and Dubai Festival City. So cities really use 5% of the world's landmass. They accommodate more than 50% of world's population and use more than 70% of world's resources. So I think we really need to nip the problem at source. And that is why we as an organization, the majority of our portfolio comes from the CNI sector, cities, right? Essentially for 2 very critical reasons: that A, they have a very high amount of contribution to emissions, and B, that they're extremely cost sensitive. So nations really need to plan least cost resource adequacy. So if you look at Africa, right, Africa is 53% electrified. The balance 47%, so 80% of that balance 47% is going to come from renewables, which I mentioned earlier is anyways 1/3 less expensive than conventional sources. India is a 3 trillion economy right now. It's going to become a 7 trillion economy by the year 2030, which means all of us are going to consume more products, consume more energy. The per capita consumption of power is going to rise by more than 2 times in just less than 5 years from now on. We are at peak demand of 246 gigawatt going up to 366 gigawatt. Generation capacity of 427 gigawatt going up to 900 gigawatt. So what I really mean by that is that this 500 gigawatt split is only going to come from non-fossil fuel based sources, which, as I said, is 300% less expensive and of course great for the environment. So nations really need to implement and plan their renewable energy and storage adequacy in lines with their growing power demand, especially for regions like Asia and Africa. And with that, I think I say this with absolute responsibility, that everyone in this world deserves power, energy, not just the very few who can afford expensive thermal power. So yeah, that.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, maybe my final question to Raghu: why is sustainability literacy important, and how will this impact businesses and profitability?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, we have been talking about sustainability. As I said, everyone says sustainability. What it is? When you start asking the question, people start thinking what it really means. What is that actually? So the literacy of sustainability is really important, right? Again, the people aspect comes into the place, right? So when you say, awareness within the business to improve the profitability, earlier I was saying the 3 P's are important. So now how do you do this? How do you implement it within the business so that the profitability increases, at the same time people are aware about the sustainability? So it is not just the management, again I'm reiterating what I said earlier, right? It has to reach the bottom line people, right? After all, whoever works closely to the product and services of your business are the best people to give you the solutions, right? Because they are hands-on, they are into that. So how do you do it? See, it can be done in multiple ways. It is not just sending some emails or making them aware in some speech. No, we need to say yes, sustainability, sustainability. Why sustainability? And we need to be talking in a structured way. So once you create a group, let's say that a sustainable club can be created within the businesses, and then people, the employees who come in on really on a structured way every time. On every town hall meetings, you can talk about sustainability and how it is important for people as well as the business. The social responsibility, because we are talking about the ESG framework, right, within the sustainability, as you all know, right? So, in that sustainability frame, within the framework, okay, the governance part or a social part or an economic part that we talk about here. So we need to get the best ideas from the people and then implement those ideas, okay, onto the business. If you value them, see, we are talking about the carbon credits, right? Many of you say carbon credit. What is that, right? See, we are conducting this, Internet 2.0. The conference is being conducted here. Well, there will definitely be a carbon footprint on this. So how do you compensate that? Yes, there cannot be, even within, if you work within the ESG framework, there will be some amount of carbon footprint that we always create, right? So you buy these carbon credits with this, they say, right? You start planting more trees, to compensate the footprint that you created. So this is a very small example that we are talking about, in this, right? And especially this as a concept, sustainability has become more like a study now, in the branch, in the Gen Z kids really talk about that, that one good thing that is happening. But we, as leaders, the industry that we have been from years that we have been coming here has to be more responsible and then make the Gen Z kids understand why it is important. It is not just the self. Okay, you also talk about the next generation to come in while we are talking about it. So you create the sustainable clubs, as I told you earlier, and then like the carbon credits, you give the sustainable points, okay, or the sustainable credits to the employees. This will motivate them, and you can always link it to your appraisal. So this will make them feel that the company is valuing you, and they are the best people to tell you what is more sustainable, how can we improve the sustainability, which in turn increases your profitability of the organization in the long run. So after all, it has to be the value chain, talking about. It's not a one person or an owner or a manager or the shareholders just thinking, right? It's balancing of the shareholders and the stakeholders that we are talking about. So that is the reason the literacy of sustainability is really important. People should really know what it really means, right? Sustainable, everybody is talking. It is just the energy? No. It is you feel. Yes, that's a very important factor that Ankit was talking about, how you can contribute more, right? And also how you balance the profit by way of energy and reducing the carbon footprint and the emissions.
Yes, that sounds great. I mean, today's tech is an hot topic, and find the right balance between the two different aspects is going to be really important for our long-term visions of all founders and entrepreneurs. So let's go to the final comments about this discussion, and what do you think about it? We would like to close to our audience.
That was quick. Do you want to go, Raghu? I think I'll put my thoughts together.
Yeah, sure. So as we always say, everything starts at home, right? You start at home. So every country, we are talking about, okay, renewable energy, reducing the carbon footprint. Okay, you go to a supermarket and then say, don't use the one-time, the plastic bags. Bring your tote bags or use a renewable bags. So these are very, very small things that we always, think about it and how I contribute it. I'm no way related to sustainability. And individual comes and says, yeah, correct. But how you can contribute to the society? How you do it and where? So it starts from home. You start it that way. And as I earlier said, the kids, make them aware why it is important. It is for them that we are saying, because it has to be a carbon-free habitat for them in the future. So that is the reason we need to make them aware. And for that, we need to understand what it really means. Every piece of reducing the carbon footprint. So when you say that, and I was mentioning that, you conduct an event and there's a carbon footprint, you start planting the trees or you buy the carbon credits and then, oh yes, I've compensated. No, that is the last thing that you need to do. As far as possible, stay within the ESG environment. Okay, in that environment, the framework rather. But as far as possible, avoid the carbon footprints. But still, if you have some carbon footprint, compensate it by way, the methods that we discussed and which is discussed by the WHO and everybody else. So that's it. To closing, yes, every individual in this world is responsible for it, and they can contribute at least as very small percentage onto this.
Great points, Raghu. I think I'd rather like to touch base on a couple of realistic things when it comes to sustainability on an individual or an organizational level, and that I think that is the approach that I follow, because I understand that, as I always keep saying, the only reason people do it is because it's supposed to make a business case out of it. With that, I think I'd like to touch base upon financing renewable energy projects. Until at least 5 years ago, people still had the notion, and we still keep hearing a lot of confusion around getting them financed. So really, getting a renewable energy project financed is relatively cheaper than getting a conventional project financed. So the cost of capital could range between 5 to 15% depending on the economy that you are in. For a classic CNI customer who wants to deploy a renewable energy project, the return on investment ranges between 25 to 35%, which is great. So this arbitrage between the cost of capital and the ROI is super lucrative. Not just that, along with it, as I said, the OPEX, the price that you buy this cleaner power at is 1/3 the price that you buy conventional power at, right? And of course, it's great for the environment. I mean, that is the bells and whistles that comes along it. Not, the business case is just meant for you to do it because it's cheaper. And then of course you could also take into account of a lot of green initiatives that keep coming along. So yesterday I was reading while I was traveling here that Europe has come up with a policy wherein they're saying that beginning 2025, any material that they import from India, if a proportion of energy that is utilized in the production of that material is not coming from a renewable source, then they're going to tax it higher. So that. With that, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we are a clean tech energy company, Electric Bee. For those of you all who don't know, we do anything related to energy efficiency, generation, storage. We have a generation capacity of more than 500 megawatt. Currently located in Asia, entering the MENA territory as we take on the stage. Happy to chat around it offline with any of you all or even otherwise. I think I'd rather close this. Thank you, Internet 2.0, especially for having us today here. It's been a pleasure. You all have been a lovely audience. Thank you. And the one statement that I began with, that no solution, irrespective how sustainable it is going to sell unless it's commercially viable. So the only reason for an individual, for an organization to go sustainable is that because it's cheap and it makes a brilliant commercial case, and then comes around the environmental benefits around it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So here comes here. Sorry, one more point I wanted to say what he said. Ankit was mentioning so many technical things. That's for a common person I'm talking about, right? I mean, it's really, we understand what he said. So many, we'll be able to appreciate and get into it on the renewable energy front, where we have the literacy. Again, I'm reiterating, it needs to reach the common person, a common man, right? When we say, only if it reaches, when you say profit, yes, that's the first thing that eye-opening, right? And then we get into it. And then say why it is important. That's the reason the education is really important on the sustainability to people, so that people appreciate it, and also it becomes cost-effective for them and profitable for the businesses to close it. Right? So thank you, everybody.
Great point, Raghu. But I also think we are way too deeply penetrated now into the sustainability world that I think even for the middle-aged generation, a lot of people understand the benefits and the price of not going sustainable. So they know that people and organizations need to put their money where their mouth is. They understand why it is essential, and not just so because that it's cleaner for the environment, simply because it's cheap. So I think the literacy era was late 2000s, 2015 to 2020, but still I think you make a very valid point. That is where you start. That is where you start, and happy to chat around that with any of you all.
That's great. That's great. I think we still have a couple of minutes. We can open a Q&A from the audience. I don't know if someone has questions. No, I think yeah. I think it's good.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone, and thanks for this interesting chat fight together.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Been a lovely moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Manan. Thanks, guys.